Mm, So, uh, I'm still. I like that I stand. I start with an incredibly weird voice. Anyway, we can ignore that, I guess. Uh, Browse. Let me change the image of this thing over here. Let me pick something that feels more representative of today, I guess. I don't know. Uh, Emotes are emotes. Good in that sense, maybe. Maybe not. Who knows? Maybe, maybe, maybe this one. This one is incredibly tiny. Uh, Give me a second. Okay, to restart. Also, I should like disconnect the mouse at this point. Okay, there it is. Is it? Hello? Ah, yeah. Sorry, I was holding the mic in a bad position, I guess. Anyway, good good evening. Good good morning, Vietnam. I guess. Did I? Let me see. Probably even forgot to. Did it is to unmute? No, no, no. I didn't. I didn't. We're fine. We are very nice, I guess. Anyway, welcome today. Today, what do we even have? Good question. Today, I think I I don't remember if I tried to talk about it or not. There is something very interesting that happens in this idea of, I guess, wanting stuff. Sometimes you have things that you care about, that you are interested in getting, in observing, in, I wouldn't say gaining particularly, but yeah, in being capable of properly pursuing, let's say. And all of that is not just in a basic sense, oh yeah, yeah, this is so interesting as a simple possibility, but rather it is quite useful in a manner in which it allows you to just try to set things up, I guess. And yeah, in that whole web of web of things that work in that way, what happens is also, I think most people could realize that, yeah, what might be interesting might be the possibility of, so to speak, trying to get, I wouldn't say as many things as possible going, but at the very least, trying to get something of particular usefulness going. And yeah, instead of all of that, that's like a very general statement, I guess. But instead of that whole world of things that one might care about, there is also another second layer, let's say, and that is, I also have things that I believe, if I were to propose them to me, to myself, so to speak, if I were to properly try to do the things that I say that I care about so much, I would gain quite a lot. I would harness quite a lot of benefits if I were to try and properly pursue some things of any kind. And yeah, instead of that, I guess today I can say, I don't know, is it that much of a bad thing to say? I know there are many things that might feel harsh to say, so to speak, but the truth is, yeah, it's quite interesting to try to be here with enough consistency, I guess. That's that was the whole message that they wanted to get out. Yeah, yeah. I think that the days like this one are quite useful for more than anything else, trying to see stuff and understand stuff and have things that we can refer ourselves to in any kind of manner. So that's already a beginning, I guess. That's nice. And yeah, um, instead of that, it's also considered not just the idea of okay, yeah, we might get to be here. I don't know, every single day. Yeah, we could do that. We could also say that, for example, we shall try our best to be here, even if it is for just 5 minutes. But at the same time, there is also some things that need proper efforts, I guess. Some things that deserve proper. I don't know if the correct word would be something like perseverance, I guess. That would be the proper term, yeah. It requires perseverance of a kind that will allow for us to be satisfied with all of that, I guess. And many occasions we don't get to have that. Not because it is impossible, but rather because it's just something that we are not that much accustomed to do, I guess. It's this whole idea of we get to explore the world once we slowly grow older and understand that our decisions need to be particularly useful in a manner or in a particular sense. So then it's quite complicated to try to talk about anything that might be at all related with okay, yeah, I can do whatever I want. In we always can do whatever we want, so to speak, but the reality is can I try to do something that I feel like will I don't know if the correct word would be pay off. It's more along the lines of just bring me the closest to my particular true goals, I guess, or this whole idea of trying to think about life not just as the present, not only living obviously in the future, but taking into consideration that yeah, everything must try to play some role in what is existence, in the existence of anyone. It's quite useful to have enough interest, I guess, to try and allow ourselves to experience, to see, to participate in other stuff that we can find joyful. So, in this case, it's just a sort of repetition of that same thing here. It can be quite a good to try to have stuff like this happen. I wouldn't say every single day. I do not really agree with that idea. I believe yeah, you can burn yourself out quite rapidly. It's a dangerous process to repeat non-stop. Even what feels like the most rewarding thing in this order of things that we choose to do, not that we are obliged to do, so to speak. So, or that we are forced to do. So it's weird, I guess, but it's also nice. Yeah, it's something. I guess I have been trying to put a proper word into it. I don't know. It if nothing else, it's something meaningful. So that's nice to try to have that happen more. It's also very nice. It just requires patience and I don't know. I think one of the many I haven't really tried to talk about it. One of the many discoveries that I had is yeah. I know that I like to talk about patience and whatnot. I like to talk about how we need to be more capable of waiting for things, but on a different level, you can also realize, yeah, I could also gain a lot more of things if I were to develop my own sense of patience about the stuff. A little bit, a lot more, to some degree, develop that and try to allow myself to have moments in which I feel good, so to speak. It's not exactly a bad thing, but it's also not something so common to see, I guess. So I I should try to choose for things that bring me some type of reward. And yeah, it's it's hard. It's it's very hard, I guess. It's not an easy type of decision. Mostly also because there are always so many things open. I haven't really thought about it in the sense of, yeah, uh, understanding stuff. I guess what we could, to make it easier to refer to it, call, I don't know, knowledge out the world. When you get to have a sizable amount of it, you get to see a lot of things always available to do. And the reality is, yeah, there are many possibilities. That whole idea of impotential or potentiality, we could have a lot of things. Change is around the corner everywhere, so to speak, but at the same time, it's not truly something all that deep. It's good, I guess. It's nice, but it's also hard to properly describe. So it becomes a matter of, I just want to do my best in order to ensure more moments like that one. And yeah, it's just, I guess, sticking to choices. What is also inside of that whole formula, being capable of us not doubting oneself so much is quite useful when trying to think about time. I think in essence, what happens most of the time is not really somebody trying to repent for what they thought was so important, I guess, but rather the sadness of knowing that we didn't really choose what we wanted the most. And I don't know, I can say it becomes an easier task. No, not an easy one, but it becomes more doable to accept that, yes, some days it won't really be all that shiny in a general sense, I guess. And it's nice to remember that, yeah, it's good to have doubts. It's a nice tool for a rational being to doubt. But to some degree, it's also not that wonderful to endlessly be doubting about everything. So it's hard, I guess. It's very complicated, but nonetheless, it's something that brings harmony, I guess. To try and cultivate that sense of patience is what can allow, I guess, anyone to have a little bit more of harmony. That's, if we want a particular way to refer to it, something along the lines of anyone who can allow themselves to take things more slowly can also get to understand what is it that makes it so wonderful to be. I guess that whole side of patience is the goal, I assume. Not that I assume, I think anybody who slowly becomes more patient gets to understand that, I guess. And also, welcome, Shin. I hope you're fine. I hope you are well. Good evening. I am unverified. Why? Did you forget to pay? Did you forget to renew your Twitter subscription? Did you run out of money? Is it so over? Uh, Also, shh, we don't react to stuff here. Don't worry about it anyway. Uh, I might have scammed you. Maybe I shouldn't be that far away from the screen. I guess to see it. That would be a nice idea. But yeah. Anyway, that's today is a very chill day. That's all I can say over here. Today we have nothing to really say. Is there anything to really say any other day? Not really, not really. We really no. Everything is to some degree important, but at the same time, it's not about yeah. We need to have the most important thing ever. Yeah, no, it's not like that. I guess it's not such a necessity, but who knows, man? It's just overvaluing stuff is also a problem. I guess I don't know. I haven't really been considering that, but yeah, it's to some degree we tend to overvalue almost anything that if you think about it properly enough, even preconceived notions are something incredibly overvalued. Something that I thought about for in one occasion that I after having just not even made my mind up, just while living the rest of my whole existence, decided that it was going to be that way and never even revisited that particular way in which I thought about it in the first time, as to ask myself if that is important or if that is the correct way of conceiving this thing or not. Just accepting it as a truth. That part of the preconceived notions. That's quite annoying, I guess. And I don't know. It's it's not really that sad. Most people don't care at all that they can rapidly such. I don't know. It's something funny, I guess. Is language in a lot of languages are charged with their cultures. You cannot use some words. For example, I mean, it's the most obvious example is within this own language. Some types of things that you cannot say, and yeah, in some other cases, it becomes quite a useful tool to be capable of not just using it as what the word objectively means, but also what the word can signify when you're using it based on the context. That's why, what I was going to say, we are very oriented towards discriminating the whole world in a way in which we can understand what it is. We can discriminate these things from those others, and in that way, truly, we do quick enough so at the very least we don't lack ways of referring to things. I guess most people gets to know almost everything that they see in their daily life and have an already formed, even if it is just a very basic notion, an already formed opinion about the stuff, and that's good. But at the same time, it's also not that good because the reality is, yeah, we, I don't know, I have things that I supposedly like. I have not tried to really understand why do I say that I like it. Not that I don't know. I can mention things like, oh yeah, sugar feels good in anybody's body because it triggers some neural receptors or something like that. That's a certain type of truth, but the reality is, yeah, I don't know. I personally find interesting sweet food, So that's why I like to consume that type of food. So that's also part of what I might be oriented towards sweet things. And I never wonder, besides the basic notion of, yeah, yeah, we supposedly like that. Why do I like that? Why do I ever care about that thing? And I don't know. I wouldn't say it's really a sort of loss. We don't have that many preconceived notions that limit everything else. But at the same time, I will even go as far as to argue, and maybe not even being capable of realizing that, yeah, indeed, almost any kind of preconceived notion is dangerous. Maybe that is a good point to understand that to some degree we kinda need to have doubts about stuff. We kinda need to not be capable of being completely sure about the things that we want to try and talk about. Not because we never should try to talk about anything at all. No, no, no. More from the perspective of it is quite useful to be capable of utilizing properly all the knowledge that we could get to have about a certain thing in a manner in which we can portray everything else in a more proper direction. If it doesn't get to happen, that we get to enjoy all of those events in which the different occurrences regarding any kind of idea, and in which we have allowed ourselves to not stop looking for more things to consider in regards to that initial idea itself, we might get to form better opinions. So yes, that's the issue. Why, to some degree, it's very understandable. We don't really care about opinions that much. We are in this whole struggle for a singularity. Opinions have lost quite a lot of weight, I guess. It's more normal nowadays to just move forward and abandon any kind of system in which what we center ourselves around are opinions. Not because opinions themselves do not matter, we still care quite a lot about what others might think about us. Unavoidably, we have a bit of an ego, I guess. It's unavoidable. The world tells you, at the very least, to have one, not to feed it constantly, but to have one that serves you in any way. So it's that sort of incoherency always present in how we organize ourselves. But the idea itself is just, yeah, it will be better to get to know more things and to get to say more about the stuff. I not not from a negative perspective of, I just want people to make silence and not talk out what they do not know anything about. No, no. I I prefer when somebody can be more genuine about what they find useful or what they find interesting. So it's useful to also recognize that it can be achieved by anyone. In a general sense, anyone can find out what they like and be capable of committing to it if they try to do so. The issue is anything else that might impede that particular action, but the realization that can be obtained by trying to understand what is it that we particularly like, what is it that particularly interests us. All of those things are doable. It's not, I guess, as long as anybody possesses the thinking faculty, if we want to mention it in any way, it's something achievable. The problem is all the other things that need to work around that first principle, so to speak, to, yeah, yeah. Can I actually change in a way in which I can start to pursue what I want? Is it a possibility for me to do that? I will not lose everything else if I do that. How will I know that my life will continue in any meaningful way if I try to pursue stuff and whatnot. And I don't know, it's partially complicated, partially not so hard to get. It's just everything. Once again, what I started with, everything takes time, and when we cannot really believe that any of our actions was the correct one because there is this constant need to do everything else, this in incessant repetition about how many other things we end up missing because we chose to do one particular event. We chose to go towards one particular direction. Even if we like to talk about it in a way in which it doesn't sound as such a negative thing, the reality is we have sort of failed in allowing ourselves to not remind once again ourselves that we have other things available. It's the subliminal way in which we always instill that there are other options out there in regards to anything is quite a heartful one. Not because there is no option, but rather because it makes it feel like no option might be good enough. If out there anything else might be better or has the potential to be even better than what we get to have right now. That's unending dissatisfaction with what we get to have and what not is. But I don't know, it's complicated. I can say I am I guess the most important part, or at least the initial necessary component in all of this formula is at least I can say that I am happy with what I get to have right now. And that's to some degree enough. That's to some degree something capable of, I guess, bringing me any kind of content. It's contempt. It's it's not something so easy to say that we get to be satisfied with being, because it requires a lot of proper knowledge about what we have around us to formulate it with certainty behind our words. But at the same time, yeah, it doesn't really feel all that well. Life is quite not just survivable but also enjoyable. So yeah, I can personally say it's a good time. I guess I don't know. Anyway, let me drink something. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's quite crazy. At least, yeah, that's something else that I wanted to mention. I think yesterday I kind of forgot. At least we don't have to deal with anything related to erections. I guess it's quite nice to be capable of avoiding out of that world. It's I I sort of heard not exactly like this, but this one joke, I guess, about how when you are younger, you don't really get to understand why people would want to do something like killing themselves. When you hear it for the first time in your life, the language that they used why was the first time that you hear in TV somebody that has unalived themselves. You hear that. You hear somebody who has overdosed in anything. And out of those statements, do not really compute because up to that point it is impossible for anyone to properly put into perspective what being alive might mean once you have to deal with the world. And once you get to grow older, you are left wondering if it might not be a better option to just be the next one that unalived themselves with all of those things. The addictions are quite tempting, I guess. There are many things, I guess, in life that are incredibly tempting. If there is anything that we are doing quite well, I guess, is creating more and more enticing ways to perceive things that we, on the other hand, already know are bad. It's the way in which we have granted so much liberty to everyone to do what they want to try and gain money is quite hurtful in terms of, yeah, we are starting to cultivate quite a lot of things that might just make, in general, anyone lose quite a lot of benefits, I guess, of proper gains, and that is not only dangerous, but also it is by itself problematic. We have way too many lies lying around that make it look like the solution is reachable in within the grasp of anybody's hand because it doesn't require real effort. These oversimplifications of problems or formulas that make it look like perhaps we will get to be the next ones who can achieve some sort of success, be capable of beating this new whole system, if nothing else, or a whole arrangement of other things that make it as a whole be better. All of that stuff is always available to one. And it's good to know that we can avoid it. It's good to know that we can choose rather something that we truly feel satisfied with. But it is still, one of the handful of realities that I have still or yet to properly process is that whole perspective of those who learn to be high functioning addicts, so to speak. That sort of people are quite funny to see, even if to some degree I might even qualify as one, I guess. Uh, in some other areas, it's quite a hard task to properly put into perspective, I guess, how interesting it is to be capable of realizing that, yeah, some days it's it's the best thing that you can do to just forget about the repetitions and cycles that we have to go through every single day of life of our lives. So at the very least, a way in which you get to escape mentally, if nothing else, from those other events is a way in which you get to be quite a lot. I wouldn't exactly say better, but quite a lot different. And it's not about making a difference, but at least not forgetting that, yeah, we can keep going. This idea of coping mechanisms, in I haven't really gotten to know somebody besides the self-destruction aspect that comes with the consumption of anything that might be dangerous to the body. The reality is the self-defense mechanisms that are put into motion that get to be activated due to those substances, to those habits, and to those troublesome consumptions, I guess, are in some way useful for the person themselves who enforces their existence. They are not so easy to observe from outside, I guess, and it's even more of an issue to try and properly point at them in a way in which it doesn't feel like we are forgetting out the necessity to have them exist. But all of that is still something that gets to have a reason to exist. It's not so easy as to just say, "Oh yeah, yeah, this stupid person who has this sort of addiction." No, no, I I think I might even say it like this. I haven't really thought about it that deeply, but let me get it out. I think that the endless chronicle of any, so to speak, self-defeating addict is the one in which we try to overcome the different necessary problematic consumptions to keep traversing through life while also accepting that to some degree it is impossible for anyone to get rid of what allows so many other parts of life to keep existing. Because it is quite easy to say from outside, yeah, this might be bad, but in the moment, one only gets to do what allows them to keep going. If at least I get to know that I am going to not give up in I don't know, in everything else, because of this one minimally negative action, I would rather do that, I guess. It's, you could even say it, an addiction might be one of those last sparks that a dying star is capable of emitting in terms of, yeah, yeah, the person trying to not give up. At the very least, you can attach yourself to life through an addiction, I guess. But I don't know, it's also something that we still don't really get to talk about in our day-to-day life. It's addictions themselves are quite uncomfortable to even mention or try to acknowledge, I guess. We we don't really try to stop and think about it. And that's not really impossible to understand. Sadly, it's quite a reasonable issue to have, to not want to properly see all of those things as useful or sensual, I assume. And I don't know, it's, if nothing else, it's fine. But yeah, at least we are not anymore back in the old times in which any kind of addict was forced to liberate themselves out of those shackles of addiction, I guess. Also, I think it's sometimes it's not negativity, it's just realism. But yeah, I think something funny that happens is also um, we do not really have that many perfections throughout existence, so to speak. We have quite a lot of people addicted to stuff nowadays. So if we were to become more harsh with all of that, we might risk losing even more humans in terms of having to seclude them, having to take care of those who have addictions. It might, I don't know, probably, I would assume that compared to the estimates, let's say it like this, if considering that or assuming that all the addicts in the world to any kind of thing, to any kind of addiction, do not get to be more than through the real numbers, let's say, I think 20% is already too much in real statistics of the world. But I would easily bet that in reality, nowadays, we are probably closer to 35% of addiction to things, and that's the issue itself. We do not get to talk about addictions. We do not get to talk about any other thing related to them also. Because I think there is a very important, I don't know, truth? I wouldn't say it truth as in, oh wow, yeah, this is, now hear me, brothers and sisters, I have found the truth. No. I think it's just something that we cannot allow ourselves to point at. There are many other things that have become addictions of the human, I guess. I don't know. I it's not nice to properly call it an addiction, but yeah, stuff like doom scrolling, stuff like endless consumption of any kind of content, these ways to make things look more important than what they truly are and dedicate ourselves too much to them. And of that stuff is also part of addictions, and I guess it's an easy thing to say, not a really easy thing to understand. But I think in this cult of the personality society, what has become also acceptable has been to idolize the idea of admiring things, so that in some cases it is even seen as a useful thing to be capable of properly, correctly obsessing over stuff. I wouldn't say properly, but correctly based on the society in which we live. I would even say the best examples are always people like, yeah, they are addicted to work. And those gets, I don't know, at least like 20 years ago. In most cases, you could somebody be called out as, oh yeah, this is the one addicted to work, and that means, in most cases, something good. And if you're not really obsessed with work, it most surely means that you are just very dedicated to it. And that at least is something good. That at least gets to be something nice for you, to you. So it's, in a way, nice. But in the other direction that I was trying to go for, it's also quite, I guess, hurtful to have to reconcile that realization, I assume, of yeah. And sadly, we do not get to have all that satisfaction about this stuff. We do not get to live in a world in which everything is made easier just because we developed a sense of interest over things. We started to avoid some obsessions of ours, go for others. Most of the things are based around what we generally think about them. So, sadly, I have to agree with that concept of, yeah, we are lacking proper definitions, universal definitions, I guess. But I don't know, it's at least it's something, I guess. At least we are starting to understand the world a little bit more compared to before. Besides all the other commodities, I am quite happy with the notion that yeah, I don't have to live in older eras. That's what I was trying to mention earlier. I wouldn't say ignorance is truly a bliss. I hear it too much. I also say it too much. I try to use it as an example for many things, but yeah, not getting to understand at all some stuff doesn't feel that good, man. If everything that we got to understand was to the degree of somebody like Descartes, for example, in terms of philosophy, trying to, or not trying, staying in that superficial level of understanding about things, matter, and whatnot, if that was everything that we got when I was around in older eras, I would probably be a lot more depressed, I guess. The development of ideas is quite a beneficial thing to us, even if we, in most cases, cannot even recognize it. That's something, I guess, unavoidably that we cannot properly measure. All of those things that influence our daily existence, all of those events that make our actual or current existence a worthy one, there is, to some degree, no day better than today to exist. Because today we get to have what we didn't have at all yesterday in our lives, in our worlds, in our societies, so to speak. Even if there are some steps taken backwards in any culture that you want, the overall tendency is towards things that cater the most to the different societies that have them. There are, I don't know, unavoidably, the discussion complicates itself a little, a lot more when you talk about stuff like, yeah, and suddenly we have things like some days it's quite hard to try and, I don't know, talk about things that feel nice, look good, do some useful thing, give us some kind of a reward. All of those things are complicated. And even if they are not exactly the most complicated ones, they are at the very least something that allows us to understand each other, I guess. So that's useful. That's useful. Yeah. That's indeed useful. But I don't know. Life, worries, existence, all of that whole ordeal, I guess. All of that set of things that we try to say that we understand, but we don't truly get to properly accept, I guess. I don't know. It's not a lack of acceptance, it's just things don't truly. There are some ideas that I have started to assume, yeah, they might never make complete sense to us at all throughout life. No, rarely. I don't think in what my short existence might be, we will get to answer questions like, oh wow, yeah, is there a God? Hard proof. I don't think so. I don't think we will get to that, but at the very least, on the other hand, we have indeed things that are a lot more useful, like, yeah, we have now certainty about ourselves, I guess. If nothing else, ourselves is what we get to talk about. So yeah, I don't know. Self-centeredness as a useful thing of the present, I assume, something like that. But yeah, it's just the struggle, not the struggle, it's just the adventure of existence. Trying to participate in all of that. I mean, that's even the complicated part out of this. Oh yeah, but participation. What is even entailed inside of participation? I find it so funny to see how much we like to say that we think out all of those things in general. I don't know. We I don't know that many people who do a lot in every kind of area. At least we can pay enough attention to the things that might give us the most. Yeah, that's the norm. That's the average thing. But on the other hand, everything else that lies in the domain of and all of these other things that we could be doing that can also have different benefits than the ones we get to have right now compared to the ones that we get to have right now. All of those other things are also nice, useful to do, and potentially interesting to try and have. Can we commit ourselves to those? No. No human can do everything that the world has to offer to them. So it's that choice that seems not just complicated, I guess, but also interesting. It's the wonder of knowing that we get to be, and the wonder of knowing that we get to do stuff that feels to some degree rewarding. That's also enough, and that's also fulfilling in a certain sense. So I don't know. It's a complicated discussion. It's always everything is complicated. Yes, it's I I guess I am in that sense always repeating the same two, three lines out. Oh yeah, everything seems to be complicated. On the other hand, no, it really is not all that complicated. We like to say that it looks complicated because accepting that it isn't complicated means that we need to deal with the reality of it just needing a lot more of an interaction from us to make it work in the ways in which we want. And in many cases, assuming that it is hard to understand, to get to do, to watch, to have, instead of just outright discarding it and classifying it, preemptively classifying it as, oh yeah, this complicated thing is a lot. I wouldn't exactly say better, but it is a lot less time consuming. So yeah, things are complicated. Let's leave them at that. So yeah, I don't know. It's that whole side of just deciding for oneself and trying to value things, let's say. Trying to decide if this is the thing that seems to be the best to do, to have, to believe in, measuring that with other things of a similar degree of importance that also might need to be attended in order to properly evaluate what is it that we get to harvest, where is it that we get to go. It's it's a very crazy world, yes. It's a very interesting world, if nothing else. Also, I don't know. I, I wanted to mention this yesterday. I saw. I don't even know when it's it came out, but I saw something about this new Superman movie. I didn't even watch it. I don't watch that much cinema, but what I wanted to say is I think they kind of did it on purpose to call it Brave New World. I think there are some fantastical books that I have read that I have heard from other people about that are very interesting. One of those is Brave New World. The story by I think it was Huxler, Adam Huxler or something like that. That guy. And sadly, I am I don't know. I think I am becoming quite a cons- conspiranoist or conspira conspiracy believer or something like that. It's to me it feels like it was a deliberate choice to call it like that, so that later on no proper adaptation can be made out that it's. I think many of those great books have to suffer the same thing. And I don't know, I wouldn't say, oh yeah, it's because those books are impossible to adapt to cinema. I don't think so. I think a good example, or literally the best example even, might be something like Harry Potter. Harry Potter got to be one of the most effective franchises of the whole world. Just of just because they put a lot of effort into making it have any kind of, I wouldn't say significance. I guess that's also the issue. I am trying to think about it in terms of, without saying names before, I was thinking about many of the different books that are out there that deserve a lot of attention. We have stuff like, yeah, many of the stories that come from Brandon Sanderson, a lot of a proper, I would even say a proper adaptation of stuff like the three body problem, things like a lot of books that I know from here, from Latin America, that also never got properly adapted into anything else. I haven't ever seen, for example, a good adaptation of Don. How do you say it in English? Don Quixote, Don Quixote, Quick, Quixote, Don Quixote, stuff like that. Many franchises that deserve to be adapted. 1984, we have no proper adaptation of that. We have, at the best, ideas, movies that try to capture the essence of that and portray it in a different way. Many of the Russian novels and fiction titles that never got properly adapted into successful stories, I guess I don't know. I see it as something hard to do because some messages take a lot of time to properly let out. The skill that the original writers have needs to not just be used to create the same thing that you can read in the text, but also to be incremental with the visual aspect and the narratives that you get to construct with anything that might be related to the cinematographic way in which you present the stuff. And the issue ends up being that in many cases, it's almost impossible to properly do that whole work and even more, and them some more, because sadly we are not that capable of operating in that sense in those within those parameters. We are minimally good. We are minimally good at focusing on other things that might seem interesting, but yeah, we don't really get to enjoy ourselves all that much in the other realm. But I don't know, man. It's just life, I guess. Existence, the act of existing, and every other subsequent part about that. That's what seems to matter, what feels like it matters, even if we don't really pay that much attention to it. But yeah, I don't know. It's it's just that a passing, fleeting thoughts, I guess. But yeah, basically, I guess that's what I wanted to say the most. Try to be here. What I started with today. Um, Try to be here. Try to give it some time, to have patience for stuff, and to try to minimally participate in stuff like this one. It's useful, it's refreshing, it's even healing. I would go as far as to say the issue is to be honest about all of that, and recognize it as such. When I think about it just to myself, that whole side of sometimes you forget about the experiences because you don't get to remember exactly what the experience is, but just in some cases what you feel like during it, or what stuck with you the most during the whole process of those things. And yeah, in some cases, in many cases, it gets to happen that suddenly we shouldn't be focusing that much on everything else. It's nice to, I guess, be capable enough of settling on what we like. Also, post 4, what the fuck is. Ah, what the fuck? Why do you have such a fucking obsession with anything related to that? Well, good evening. Good good morning, Chin. Good. What is it? Good morning, Vietnam. Uh, yeah. What? It's night for both of us. Yeah. Do you want me? Oh my god. Night. Good night, Jane. I hope your night goes well. I hope you have a very wonderful night. I hope you can get to close your eyes and be happy. I know it's night, man, but you also need to have some fantasy in your life. You need to fantasize a little bit more. You don't need to be so cemented in reality. Oh, yeah. I may not be capable of drawing something so good. I don't give a fuck. Try it out. Anyways, live in the fantasy for a second. Believe in stuff for a fucking instant. Maybe it's good to trust your sense, your gut. Oh, yeah. This, and now it's day, now it's morning, now I feel refreshed, now I feel motivated to do more things. It's everything is contained in that, basically. Good morning. Good good evening. I hope you're doing well. Ah. What if we did? People would get to eat. Hunger would be lessened. The world would become a better place. You don't understand it, man. It's fine. It's fine. If it means something, it's fine. Ah. Mm. Ah. Can you get a PNC with big potatoes and a girl voice changer? Ah, with big potatoes, I understand it. Yeah. I can, I can, I can probably do like a female voice. The issue is, I, 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 I don't know. Since probably this whole year, I have been incredibly tired. But I can, I can put a lot more attention into how I speak, and I wouldn't say it truly goes that well, but at the very least, it's something that gets to feel somewhat closer to that depiction that you want. It's There is no need for something like I've always changed her, Jean. Don't be so silly, Jean, please. you know? But yeah, it requires a lot of effort, so I don't feel like doing that. That's why I don't know. I know I can try to I wonder why that award is banned. Good question, Twitch. Yeah, good one. uh, but no, don't worry. It's just that it could happen one day. Next April. When is it? April 1st? April Fools. Why the fuck is it on April 1st? But yeah, next April Fools. We we can do that, It's the only issue is I have to do that. But the reality is I also can do it, so I don't know. It's embracing the memes, I guess. I don't know, it's complicated. It's complicated, you don't get it. Because it requires celebration, and a celebration means organization, and organization is something that I never had. It's so over, man. There will never be a Bobby. Bobby? What's Bobby is when the guy accepts that they are a guy using a female model. What the fuck do you call it? Trolling? How do you call it? Being and even doing the female voice and all of that. I have a good word, but I can say it. I fucking hate it. It's nah, it's but politically charged word. Yeah. Anyway, can you do a hot tub? Yeah. I don't know. Can you give me like $200 to do it? I probably can. I don't know in which sense you mean, but uh, I wouldn't do it. I don't know. Like with a real camera? No, no, I don't think so. I don't know. Would you do it? Would you get a camera? Are you into that shit? Is that your fantasy? You want people to go and ask you in your chat if you are going to someday do a hot tub stream and you are going to show yourself in a bikini? You want to wear a bikini? What the fuck is wrong with anyway, don't worry about it. Ah, it was so funny. It's my bedtime. Yeah, I kinda feel it. I kinda feel it, but I don't know, man. I don't want to go to bed. The night is young. Life is short, and also I should have streamed earlier. I didn't. I some days. No, was I doing something? No, I wasn't really doing anything. Some days you just forget to press the button, I guess. So I I don't know. I'm not really feeling it. It's more like a vibe check says vibe. How do you say that? Vibe checkometer says, nah, dog, we are good to keep going. Let's say it like that. Even if I don't know. I mean, from a personal perspective, I feel like I am operating at like 50% of my brain capacity, like 70% of the time or such. Even more in like, oh yeah. I I I operate in that or even less for so much, but it's fun, I guess. If not, what would it be of life? Maybe that's another way of dealing with existence, I guess. To not having to always pay so much attention to anything, or handicapping oneself, I guess, to be capable of handling everything else. you're going to take a gun break? You should take a break from gunning. You fucking degenerate. But good luck. Don't. What's the word? Don't burn your skin. I lacerate. I think it is. Don't get laceration. Don't get yourself lacerated. Let's say it like that. But yeah, also I think I also need to take a break. Actually, I need to take not we were not like you. Nobody else here is like you. Nobody here goes. But I still need like a break to go to an annual meeting break to stay in the fantastic world instead of saying nasty shit like that. So yeah, give me like a second. I was trying to use the mouse. I can't. Anyway, as I said, let me do something real quick. You know what? This is my fucking house. I will sit down. Thank you. But what I wanted to say was, um, I know I was talking about something else. I already forgot. So sorry about that. Also, I didn't change scene. This so much. I already got comfortable. I fucking hate this. Take this anyway. I was trying to say welcome, welcome back. But yeah, I don't know. I this is my house, my rules. That shitty expression, but I basically wanted to say something. I wanted to complain about something. I don't know. Today, once again, being reminded that yeah, older people lack a lot of illusion about the world. I guess I don't know. Let me tell the story. I, one of my family members out of nowhere brought to my attention the existence of this app, Timu. Timu? Do you say it like that in English? I guess. I assume so. And I, I don't know. I believe we need a lot more interesting stuff. I think stuff like that can be useful to some degree to have many other instances of things being just given out to people. That one application seems to have a proper scheme to make people interested in that. I don't know. Obviously, there are always second intentions behind what anyone might do, yeah, but it's also not that important when you take into consideration that I don't know, you get to gain something. You get to gain some stuff that you might want, that you might need, so to speak. And that's sufficient enough. I don't think it's that bad. It's everything is a sacrifice, I will say. Everything is in some way choosing something for the sake of other things instead of the all the remaining options that we did not choose. So it's always compromising ourselves to certain things that we have to do. And sometimes I think it has become quite a lot more impossible for anyone to even try to get out stuff. To try to believe that they might go into any minimally good direction. Not because they can't, but rather because it's trust in general. It's a complicated thing to have. Trusting things and trusting in people and trusting in processes and stuff is not such a common thing compared to before. I feel like we have very appropriately become capable of realizing that yeah, we need to properly trust the stuff and trust in things. And through that whole process, it suddenly came to be that yeah, now we don't even feel like it's necessary to do things that might be beneficial to us. Unavoidably, they might backfire. But there is always a possibility for anything to actually backfire. And unavoidably, also, these things that we want may not go in the direction that we actually want. So, can we take the chances, the risks, and commit ourselves to that, or will we rather avoid all of them? It's not that nice. No, not in terms of just being nice or not. Not that beneficial to us to have all of those things work in that way. It's a lot better to just accept that, yeah, sometimes we don't get to have everything is to some degree sad. Sometimes having illusions is better, and sometimes including a little bit more of color of those little silly things in life makes it more bearable, so to speak. Bearable? I don't know. It's just, yeah, I got to, I remember talking about it some years already ago. This whole idea of how the older you get, the sadder you become, and the less capable of having an innocent, willful spirit is because of how much bad things you have to see throughout life and process them as normal. That whole process of being defrauded by reality and getting your expectations completely underwhelmed due to what reality gets to be in many cases. That whole thing makes sense, but I think it's also quite an interesting path. I don't know. Life is very fantastic. Life gets to be very fantastic if we have any wish to integrate ourselves with that. Otherwise, yeah, it doesn't need to be the most fantastic thing. It doesn't get to be the most fantastic thing. But I don't know. I wouldn't say by itself that it is the worst or that it is something bad. It's just that, yeah, maybe, and just maybe, some attention to it will do would do us some good. And I assume that's sort of enough compared to having nothing. At least it's enough, I guess. That's a more proper way to say it. But yeah, who knows? Who knows? It's life in general, life, the mysteries of being and whatnot. It's yeah, that whole aspect of never wanting to fully commit to any opinion also is interesting. I guess with time, one believes, begins to be more capable of realizing that some days we wish we could say things with more certainty. We wish we could stand behind the opinions that we have a lot more. But yeah, in many cases, it's now easier to not even try it than to do it. Not because it is impossible, but rather because it is too hard to do, or too demanding to do. I One of the funny things I see is many of the people that seem to have an interest in anything related to I don't know, basic opinions, basic ideas and whatnot, lose a lot of their interest the moment in which you also show similar levels of interest in knowing what they truly think about the stuff. It's hard to find anybody truly opinionated about the stuff. O- Opinionated, I think it is the negative way of calling it, but also I just mean in general. Somebody who has opinions about the stuff is hard to find nowadays. It's easier to not commit to anything. At least in that way, we get to avoid problems, and at least in that way, we get to not have so many issues with any group. Not with any particular one, but with anyone at all. That's useful. To know that you won't be at risk because of, I don't know. It's something that I don't see mentioned enough. It's We have become quite paranoid in many ways. It's this constant fear of getting, I wouldn't say called out, but rather harassed and personally, what is the penal classification that it has? Like getting publicly, no, not executed, a public death or something like that, or a death of the character or something like that, basically. In which what happens is we just, the person itself gets their reputation so destroyed by some particular thing that they did that as a whole their image in the public becomes impossible to reconcile as anything good. That thing is incredibly normal, I think. I don't see it as something so rare nowadays. Not that it should be normal, but it is normal. And many people like to stay just behind that fear is the way of understanding it, I guess. Of okay, I won't say anything bad. I won't say anything controversial. I won't have any kind of opinion that might put me at risk. And within that category, many take the easiest route possible of, you know what? I won't even have to deal with any potentially dangerous commitment. I will just avoid having opinions at all. And that will be my safest bet yet. And I will avoid any kind of damage. And at best, if the person who comes after me is the one who wants to attack me, I can defend myself with the assurance of I am I am trying to be good. I am literally trying to not upset anyone. I'm trying to not make anyone angry about my existence. I don't want problems. Why are you forcing me to have problems with the world, brother? What's your issue? Don't you see that I'm trying to have, I guess, a pacifist run here? Don't you have the capacity to understand that I don't want to disturb anyone with what I might say? My controversial opinion is that I don't want issues. I don't want people to trouble themselves with me. I don't want people to be troubled by me, to have to deal with worse situations because of me. So I am trying to actually do something good here. I'm actually trying to do something beneficial probably to everyone because I am avoiding that potential problem of, okay, this person could become an issue for someone, so at least I am doing that. That's a statement. Is it actually true? I don't think so. I don't think so. I think it's a lack of, not even personality, not in a sense of, oh, yeah, you need to have, everyone needs to have a personality. What I talked about before, the cult of personality. Not exactly that, but everything else besides that, that also gets to matter. Everything else besides that, that also gets to have some sort of importance, significance, and all of those other things that do represent something. Those things are complicated, and those things are quite complex to properly grasp, I guess, but they're useful to consider if nothing else. And they are nice to take into consideration at all. I, I would, yeah, pretty much prefer somebody who wants to say something, even if it might be a dangerous thing to say, than somebody who is always willing to stay silent. It's, I think, let's say like this. Since language has become such a normal part of our lives, it is quite depressing to conceive the world and the way to exist as something that requires no communication at all. That whole axioms of communication. Everything is communication. Everything transmits something. Even silences can be communicative of stuff. So yeah, it's kind of impossible to not say anything. To literally not say anything. Have nothing to say at all about anything. It's I guess, okay, I would even say it like this. The biggest risk of not wanting to say anything is we do not even get to define ourselves. I think it makes sense. So, good evening, Flower. I hope you're well. I hope I, I I saw it. I I I saw it like a while ago. Even remember Mondays it's movie night. So yeah, I hope it went well. I was saying something funny, something that I think is quite interesting is somebody who gets to have no opinion about stuff. One of the biggest issues is if I never form myself an opinion, other people will form opinions about me because of that. And that's where the issue comes. I become a lot more misinterpreted because I do not want to say anything. The lack of, I guess, not just communication, the lack of an interest in terms of specifying anything is what makes it so dangerous to actually realize that, yeah, we could be committing ourselves to anything. We could be committing ourselves to any position that we want, but rather it would be safer to stay silent about things because at least we don't have to deal with the issues of that. What the fuck? Uh, but in reality, where this whole idea of input, mm, potentially speaking, we might as well be creating more problems for ourselves this this idea of sometimes I do not get to know what other people think about the stuff because I do not get to empathize with what they might be thinking about. I cannot really connect with someone who I do not try to understand. What I do not get to perceive neither is also how they might formulate their ideas about somebody like me who is unwilling to say anything about what they seem to care so much about. And that is not in itself a necessity to think about, but the issue is if I want to have as many easy connections with everyone, as I try to say, with this idea of okay, I want to avoid having opinions that might be dangerous. The reality is, by avoiding to say, yeah, by avoiding any kind of a statement about the thing, I also have to deal with the possibility of them believing that what I am doing is out of fear of them finding out that what I support is the thing that they hate the most about the opposition of their particular liking, so to speak. Can we actually talk about that? I don't think so. No, it's I can say it. It's not my problem. But if somebody has the issue of, yeah, I never have to talk about things myself. I never have to say what I like. But that point is, it's a whole process that the person itself has to realize that yes. But I don't know. It's everything is time consuming to some degree. It's if the idea is happiness, I guess it's better to at the very least try to slowly get to understand those things. It's once again, I could be potentially a lot more happy if I were to do some other adjustments that in the moment, yeah, they will be uncomfortable. But I don't know. I would rather have uncomfort right now and know that everything else will get to be a lot more bearable than to live in this constant fear of things going against what I want or what I say that I need to have existing around me. I don't know, it's modes of existing. Yes, I still need to understanding stuff about that. But yeah, I I don't know. I opinions. Opinions and having them, I guess. I don't know. I just try to keep it all in order in that sense. It's just some days, yeah, it becomes an alluring option to say, yeah, you know what? Today I will avoid having an opinion. No, no. Indeed, it can be dangerous, I guess. Indeed, it can lead to even worse issues to not have an opinion about anything, I guess. But that's in the grand scheme of things. That's also to some degree why it's useful to know about the stuff of that sort. With yeah, with other arguments like morality and whatnot, you would to say, wow, yeah, this thing that I like, or this thing that I find interesting is also something that I can justify from this side of what is morally correct might also be what everyone else can also see as the proper thing to like or the proper thing to think about in respect to any other thing. So I can justify myself if I can also think from that side of the moral perspective about opinions. I guess that's I assume a more understandable perspective also. But I don't know. Most people really don't. We talk too much about morals. People don't really care that much about their own morals. We have a basic moral codes, but in the grand scheme of things, most people don't really stop to think about, oh yeah, is this violating my contract of moral values? Am I going against my own system of beliefs? No, it's a lot more automatic thinking. Okay, this thing is completely antithetical to the way in which I live. I will avoid it. Easy as. It's not an overcomplication of okay, yeah. I need to try and see where I get to go with this. I need to find out if this might be dangerous or not. I don't know. Morals are not that much of an interest of anyone really. I also I don't know. I mean, we have done quite a bad show at properly maintaining anything that might be related to morality in their proper place. I might even say it has become a spectacle of sorts. How we like to say so much that we are the morally correct ones in things that are like incredibly basic. Oh wow, yeah. We are not killing human beings. Surprising choice. Amazing choice. We are not deciding to go out there and assassinate other human beings. Wow. Astonishing choice. Probably something that nobody else could have ever decided to choose besides us. So now we get to have that point for us, that point in our favor, that win, that tiny win. Truly, is that everything that we can say about what seems to matter? It's very basic. Oh yeah, we like to live. We might also want other people to experience this enjoyable thing that is called living. But we are complicated. Oh no, yeah, because I can sense it in my most inner heart of hearts how useful it is to never rob a man of their capacity of living, existing, and doing to any degree. Because all men were created, it's not that complicated. It, we can make sound anything over engineered, overly important. But it isn't. It's just, yeah, wow. Life is nice. You know what is also nice? Not taking it from anyone else. Ah, and that whole display. I mean, it's easier to say that in the simplest form. The issue is with a more rigorous examination. To some degree, we even take pride in the stuff like, oh yeah, we get to have civilizations that don't fight with each other. Wow, yeah, is that something to take pride in? It should be basic. We shouldn't be taking pride in rational stuff. We we should be taking pride that I don't know. We don't resolve issues with violence. We have already tested that 1,000 times. We already know that it is bad. Is it something to take pride on? No. We don't try to record violence in or to any method of resolution of issues itself, which might require more efforts than what we actually need to utilize in many cases. Is that something to take pride on? No. We are capable of recognizing that indeed we should try to make things work in the best way possible. Is it necessary to feel happiness from that? Is understandable. I don't think it's a proper emotion for those things. I don't know, man. It's complicated, I guess. That's when I can say, yeah, it's complicated. Because it shouldn't be such a debate of any kind, of any way. It should be something that comes to most people just like that. Oh yeah, you know what? Today I will try to solve the problems. I will try to do the things that I have to do. No big deal, I guess. But I don't know. I assume that everything that I have said as always is from my personal perspective. On the other hand, it's suddenly like we also have such an improper balance with all of that stuff. We like to talk about, or I like to talk about pride and whatnot and how unhealthy it is. On one hand, we have that sort of pride. On the other one, we are so incapable of possessing any kind of proper perspective about what might be worth to take pride on that we are indeed, even if it is a silent issue, more than ever nowadays, we get to have problems related to how we conceive ourselves and how much we can say that we are actually satisfied with our modes of existence. This whole idea of not that I cannot take pride, I cannot feel happy with the life that I have. That's basically the idea of acceptance of the thing, acceptance of the facts of my own existence, so to speak. Not much of a lag is also there. It's not like, oh yeah, we are such prideful beings. We live with so much pride. No, we take pride on the wrong stuff. It's on the completely incorrect stuff that we take pride on, not on what matters. But I don't know. That's part of the issue. And what does actually matter? Good question. Wonderful question. Impossible to answer the question. uh, I don't know. It's life is good. I guess that's enough. That's sort of a good enough satisfaction. Life is good, and just because it gets to be good, that's enough. I don't know. Is it troublesome? It's something. It's funny, I guess. If nothing else, I mean, yeah, that's that has been quite a wonderful expression lately. That one of trying to laughing to not cry about things. I don't know if it even exists on English. I assume it does. Laughing to avoid crying, basically. Yeah. It's better to just look at those things and find them funny rather than depressing, I assume. Not because they do not need to be depressing, they are pretty much sad realities of, yeah. I don't know. It it doesn't take that much imagination to realize that, yeah, it's a fucking shame that we, in this whole struggle about identities and whatnot, to have so many issues with what is the idea itself of pride, how to properly understand how to be prideful, how to properly take pride on things without feeling like we are taking too much pride on stuff, how to properly fit within any pride in which, in any place in which pride itself might seem like a proper action, sorry. All of those things that can lead to very hectic, dangerous existences, or even to not just limited, pre prematurely ended existences if they are not properly taken on, tried to be understood. Are depressing, but it's also, I don't know, everything can to some degree be bad. It's also not such a necessity to make that much of a big deal out of things. That's, I guess, to some degree, that's why comedy makes such a good show at stuff, at trivializing what seems to be weird. That whole idea about, oh yeah, I like to point out, with comedy, I like to point out what seems to be to some degree weird, to at least bring awareness of its existence. That's, I guess, the basic principle of, oh yeah, at the very least, if you're aware about an issue, you can later on have the agency to resolve it. If you don't even know what's your problem, you have no way of dealing with it. throughout comedy, at least we get to point the stuff out. Throughout laughter, we get to assimilate the problems that do exist in the world and whatnot, without feeling so overwhelmed by their unavoidable existence. So I don't know. It's all of that is complicated once again. Also, I I don't know why I I started a stream with a weird voice. During the middle of it went back to normal, and now we're back to weird. Uh, I don't know. I have to take a tiny idle meeting break, I guess. So yeah, that's also due to happen like right now. So let me do that. I guess I don't know. I will have to do that basically. But yeah, weird, weird what? Weird, weird. I weird, weird voice. The voice of somebody. What are we talking about? There is. No, I hope so. Was there a weird voice? I don't hear a. You don't hear. Ah, okay. Sorry. I. Sorry. I was like, what, a voice? What are you talking about? A background voice? There is literally nobody here. But I now I understand. Okay, let me answer that. I actually need to go. Give me like 1 second. Thank you. Good evening. Um, yeah, I was about to. I don't even know if. I mean, yeah. Something funny. You forget that other people cannot really hear your voice like you do because you are the only human being who can hear your own voice the way you do. So maybe for me it's incredibly noticeable because it's literally my own voice. So I hear when it changes. But yeah, uh, do I need to give the explanation? I mean, yeah, to some degree. Somebody tells me their voice changes throughout the day, and I will be like, what the fuck? Why does it happen, brother? Can you tell me why? No. So yeah, the reality is there is too much contamination, I guess, in the air. So throughout the day, my voice slowly morphs into similar tones. Everything is similar, but if if I had to try and let it be more what it is normally, it's around here right now. I I guess yeah. I try to not have it be that much normal, but slowly. My I don't think it is that my throat closes itself. It's just that I guess adaptation to not get fucking choked on toxic fumes and whatnot. So yeah, uh, basically that just me pursuing that it happened. You can ignore it. It probably isn't even noticeable. I guess I don't know. But yeah, thank you, thank you for your question. I what I said before. I cannot forget what I mentioned sometimes. So my bad. But yeah, I don't know. Still anything else? I had something. So I had something and I forgot. It was about. Yeah. Okay. I remember. I was. I have continued, uh, quote unquote, reading the Summa Theologica. It has been quite a wonderful experience. It's it's going to be incredibly time consuming. At the very least, I have a more of full week to study and stuff. I guess I wasn't expecting that. Yeah, that's like a whole story. I wasn't even expecting to keep having vacations. I don't know. I didn't even try to stop to think out why I assumed that we had no more vacations. I would, I don't know, first response probably something along the lines of like stress situations and whatnot, but whatever it was that made me feel like it was better to have classes that not is is complicated to properly say. So yeah, anyway, the point is time to study. Time to study probably more stuff that I want to study. I don't know. I keep trying to talk about it in a way in which I can finally get the message, but I do not find a way to do that so far. I know that I like to study. I know that I like to learn stuff, but sometimes it becomes incredibly hard to actually do that instead of saying it. I mean, I can, once again, we can spend the whole day here adulating the idea of studying, actually doing it. It doesn't happen that much. And I don't know, I think to some degree, the overwhelming degree of information that we have been capable of gathering out all of this stuff gives these newer generations a lot more rational explanations for not doing the things that they should be doing. This whole world of, oh yeah, I need to have 8 hours of sleep. I need to have a proper setup to study. I need to have a proper mentality. I need to have my chai tea before studying every single day so that I can gain the most. And I need silence, complete silence. I don't know, man. I I think one of the worst exams in terms of studying that I had was one in which I studied like half a book, not much more, and I still passed. The point is not really the situations, it's the interest that you have in studying, I guess. And I don't know, faking, I wouldn't say it's faking, it's just the reality of knowing that you have interesting stuff, but not being capable of properly using it for the things that you have. I think in many ways, at least in my case, I can say it. I see many people, or at least I feel like I can hold a lot of desire for things without ever, not without ever, without, in most cases, actually going for them. Because it's easier to just admire how many possibilities there are out there. That whole idea of, yeah, I could study this and I could study that. What I was trying to talk about the other day, these whole libraries that one guy could accumulate out the stuff that we should need to be reading, all of those things that I need to go through and whatnot. It's true that in potentially it could happen. Will it actually happen? I don't know, man. Time keeps passing. We won't really have all that much time to experience everything that we want to see. That's one of the, I guess, issues of the shortness of existence. That we don't get to be that free with what we do, with where we go. But I don't know, I guess naiveness probably. If anything else, it's something along those lines. Knowing that, yeah, sometimes that's the issue. Yeah. Sometimes that's a wonderful saying of not everything matters that much. No, not really. A lot of things do matter in the end. That whole idea of in hindsight, things did matter. I mean, every single day that gets to have 5 minutes robbed out of them for other things throughout the years, those 5 minutes accumulate, and those 5 minutes mean a lot more than other things. I don't know. It's it's complicated. It's about properly trying to think about oneself, I guess, in a way in which it feels more like we probably have respect to us than anything else. And I don't know. It's hard to have all of that, I would assume. It's it's not truly an issue in terms of it is impossible to have, but rather it is just the reality of yeah, I might not actually need this one privilege, I guess. There are other things that seem more important, supposedly. But who knows? I don't really know. But yeah, basically that. Trying to continue with that. I also, yeah, I supposedly this whole week I should be trying to study for stuff. I I really wasn't even expecting to not have classes at all. It's kind of upsetting to some degree. Yeah, I was mentally prepared for for having classes. What an incredibly huge mistake, I guess. But even nonetheless, it's good. More free time is better, anyways. So yeah, and the real point was, uh, with all of that free time, there is there are a lot. My God, there are. My fine. Is is the position the issue? There are a lot more. No, it got even worse anyway. Um, there are a lot more interesting things to in the meanwhile than just pay attention to obligations, and that's sort of enough, I guess. That's sort of something. So it's minimally satisfying, but I don't know, man. It's having so much to accept that one is free, I guess, is also the issue. Having that much, I think the proper expression is freedom of agency is to some degree hard to properly come to terms with. Not because it cannot happen, but rather because what does it truly mean to be free to such a degree in that case? It's like, oh yeah, you can do what you want. What do I actually want? That's also the issue. Once again, getting to define things, getting to understand what we want, where, why, how. I love that is, I guess, the endless search for answers. I don't know. Also, I can personally say it's also interesting to see how much one can create plans about stuff without ever putting them into action. It's quite funny even to see all of that. I think it's something akin to imagination and whatnot. That one any human who is capable of doing that can create a lot of plans for things without ever having them lead to anything else. And I wouldn't say that it is by itself something bad, but yeah, it can become a bad habit to forget that, yeah, indeed things have to move towards somewhere. It's not just nice to, I don't know, theorize out the whole world without actually doing anything. It's quite counterproductive even to do that. It's better to try and aim towards any concrete goal. But goals are hard to manage. Yes, accepting that one has expectations is also hard to manage still. Not impossible, but hard. But yeah, that's something, I guess. I don't know. Also, can I ask the question? How much time have we been here? I know that I said I'm vacations. It doesn't justify me staying for too late. Yeah, we have been here for 2 hours. The reality is, on one hand, I do want to be here. On the other one, I should also be here fucking earlier. It's it's literally a me issue of not being here earlier. Even more today. Today I can recognize it. I ended up procrastinating more than what I was expecting. I don't know. It's that whole degree of things that one avoids to not want to do other things. I don't know. It's hard. But yeah. Anyway, the point is that's enough, I guess. Not that I don't have more things to say. I also have a despite being somewhat free, uh, sleeping at reasonable hours is good. I like doing that. I know I like that, and I will also get angry at myself if I don't do that. So yeah, um, time to wrap it up around here. I guess that's the point. That's the message. Ah, have you been keeping up with your goal for writing that book? Sort of. Writing, yeah, writing a book is a lot more complicated process than what I was expecting. I have been actually considering a lot more about it. I have been understanding a lot more where I need to polish that. I understand why writers take such long breaks between properly useful writings in terms of theoretical writers. I don't know, anyone like Darwin, for example, who took long breaks between discovery or major discovery and major discovery. All of that stuff requires time because you need to properly put it into words. So yeah, I am trying to finalize those ideas, but it requires a lot of time, I guess. That truly requires patience, and I am yeah I'm doing it. The short answer is I'm doing it, but it's I don't know. I expected to be a lot shorter. I started with that goal of I want to make it in this whole uh, break, winter break. The reality was, it might take me, I don't know, some months, probably even more. I feel confident enough to some degree to know that it can be taken to a professor. I just need to properly translate it into Spanish to do that, but uh, if I can show it to one of the many teachers that I know, minimally give me some attention, it might lead to something. The issue is also that itself needs for them to be on the school, and that's not going to happen any day soon. So yeah, also patience for that stuff, I guess. I don't know, probably an excuse. I could get the email and be that completely deranged student that messages them about this one thing that they are writing out. Probably, but I would rather not do that. I would rather not risk it that way. I will not put my whole career in danger like that. I am eager to make any proper contribution towards anything else, but not to that degree yet, I guess. But yeah, um, it's moving. I guess I don't get to talk about it here that much because it's finally moved into a more polishing part of the process. But yeah, it's moving towards somewhere. That's nice. That's very nice, I guess. Yeah. Thank you for asking. Thank you. Yeah, I don't know. I guess right. I guess I will have to check out. What a wonderful process having. Uh, is it is it a ritual at this point? I don't know. What can be properly considered a ritual? I know that habits are like things that take 60 days. What are rituals? That part I am lacking out the definition of rituals and whatnot. Anyway, um, right. Yeah, good question. Right? Question mark. Where? Right, Doko. Why is I should probably install the Twitch app. I should probably do that. It will probably make this whole process easier. I believe, implying that it ever happens. I don't know. I know what I said. I know what I said, but I want also to complain. Now I remember. We tried to buy some stuff, and they had some policy changes, and they aren't reflecting them on the app. And we cannot buy stuff because it affects directly the methods that we used before. It's so incredibly fucking funny how sometimes uh, attention to the client is so incredibly low. I guess I don't know. Anyway, thank you for coming to my TED talk. It's like 2:15 in the morning. I should fucking be asleep. So yeah, I know you can raid empty channels or like offline channels. That's such a funny thing. Why did they allow that? What was the point? Why would you actually raid someone who is offline? I know that the meme value of it, but actually do it? Why? Anyway, let me. All of this is just me trying to avoid actually raid. Whatever. We don't talk about the rationalizations here. We just accept them as what they are, parts of our life. I don't know. Um, it's also Tarsum so triumphi. What a wonderful title. Um, let me try to find one. Just let me try to find one. Please. I don't know, man. Choice paralysis? Not really. Having to choose at all is easy, really. But having to accept that we have to choose. That's the hard part, I guess. Having to accept that, yeah, the need to choose is there. is the real issue. I don't I don't think I have not personally. I don't think many people has that many issues with in general possibilities. It's just accepting that we have to choose what makes it hard. Accepting that we have to take any one side is what makes it kind of unbearable, I guess. But yeah, anyway, let me let me just check. You're right, Etsy without an underscore. Why do I remember his name with an underscore? Am I losing it? Perhaps. Never be confident about your sanity. Is that a good advice? I wouldn't say so. Probably that will make most people schizophrenic if they never trust themselves with their sanity. Don't do that. Anyway, point was, I found somebody to write. So yeah, um, let me do it. Thank you very much. So I did my part. I ate my beans. Wow. Anyway, yeah. So I was trying to say, thanks for everything. Have a good night. Have a good evening. Have a good day. Have a good life. Have an important, interesting, have a wonderful life. Have a life. Have one that you want. Have that. And yeah, I don't know. All the other things, as always, remember to hydrate, remember to be happy, remember to do nice things, remember to do things that you want. And yeah, I don't know. Until next time, implying, if not, it was still a fucking amazing time. So yeah, thanks for everything. As always, I don't know. It's a blessing to be alive every single day. So what else can we ask for today than just that? Thanks for everything. And yeah, anyway, now what's more important? We are going towards, let's see who is. I didn't pay attention. Uh, so fucking over. I don't. He's doing something. He is doing something. I don't know what. He's alive. So yeah, that's enough of a reason to be happy about the stuff. I guess. Anyway, good night. Thanks for everything. And yeah, not thanks for me, but thanks to you for being there. That's what matters. I know it's automatically rated. Oh my god.